All right, so today we're going deep on this guy named Tom,
Okay.
and we're looking at how he retired at 43
Wow. 43. That's young.
with $1 million.
$1 million. Okay, I'm interested.
Yeah, and the source material is this YouTube video called "The Intelligent Investor's Road to $1,000."
Oh, yeah, I see that way. The Swedish investor, right?
That's the one.
Yeah.
So for our listeners, what we really want to do is go beyond just what Tom did and when,
Yeah.
and try to figure out the how and the why.
The mindset, the big picture stuff.
Exactly. So we can all maybe learn a thing or two.
Right. Like, how do we apply these lessons to our own lives?
Yeah. Because, I mean, $1 million is great and all.
Sure.
But what's really amazing is that he basically bought back 14 years of his life.
Oh, wow. I hadn't thought about it like that.
Yeah. Instead of working till his late 50s,
Yeah.
he gets to just do whatever he wants, spend time with his family, travel, whatever.
You know, that is a really powerful way to think about it. 14 years.
Right.
That's huge.
So where did it all begin for Tom?
Well, he graduated from the University of Michigan Dearborn at 23 with a mechanical engineering degree.
Sounds like a good start.
It was. He actually landed a job at General Motors before he even graduated.
Oh, wow. So set for life.
I didn't think so.
Yeah.
But even with this, seemingly perfect start,
Yeah.
Tom had this feeling deep down that there had to be more to life.
More to life than working at GM.
Well, yeah, more than just working a 9 to 5 till you retire.
Oh, okay.
Like he was watching his supervisor, this guy named James, who had been there forever, had the gold watch and everything.
Okay.
But Tom got the sense that James was just kind of going through the motions.
Like stuck.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And he saw the same thing with his own dad, who loved hiking,
Okay.
but could only go a couple times a year because of work.
Ah, I see.
And that's when it really hit Tom,
Yeah.
that making money was costing them time.
Time they couldn't get back.
Exactly. And he didn't want to end up like that.
Yeah, I get that. But how do you even begin to change that?
Well, for Tom, it all started at the library.
The library.
Yep. He was supposed to pick up a book for his mom,
Okay.
but then he got a little sidetracked
Oh, how so?
by a cute, red-headed clerk named Sarah. That's a direct quote from the video.
Of course it is.
But anyway, while he was, chatting with Sarah, he stumbled upon this book called The Richest Man in Babylon.
Okay. A classic.
Yeah, and something about the title, The Sure Road to Happiness and Prosperity.
Yeah.
It just grabbed his attention.
And that's where he learned about paying yourself first.
Exactly. It's this simple but powerful idea
Yeah.
where you save a percentage of your income before anything else.
Like right off the top.
Right, like before you pay rent.
Bills, whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Tom committed to saving 10% right away.
Which is a pretty good starting point, right?
Yeah, for sure. Now contrast that with his supervisor, James, who, he was basically paying everyone else first.
The bank, the credit card companies, everyone but himself.
Yeah, pretty much. So think about this. Are you paying yourself first? Or are you letting everyone else take a cut before you do?
That's a good question for our listeners to consider.
It is. It's a simple shift in mindset, but it can have a huge impact over time.
Totally. So Tom's saving. He's on the right track. What's next?
Well, around this time, Tom reads Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Okay, another classic.
Yeah, and he gets really inspired to try his hand at investing in the stock market.
Makes sense. But wasn't this around the time when all those meme stocks were taking off?
Oh, yeah. You're talking about GameStop and AMC and all that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was happening around the same time. And Tom, he got caught up in the hype.
Ah. So he didn't exactly stick to the pay yourself first and slow and steady approach.
No, he did not. He jumped headfirst into these speculative biotech stocks.
Based on tips from where else?
Reddit.
Reddit, of course.
Yep. Yeah, he was getting all these hot stock tips from online forums. And at first, he was actually doing really well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, one of his early investments doubled in just a week.
Wow. Okay, that's got to feel good.
Oh, for sure. But then, reality set in.
What happened?
He lost 60%. Like that.
Ouch.
Yeah, he called it his fermented fish experience.
Fermented fish.
Yeah. Not a good smell.
No, not at all. So basically, he got a crash course in the Dunning-Kruger effect.
You got it. He was on top of Mount Stupid thinking he had it all figured out.
Yeah.
And then boom, straight down into the valley of despair.
But hey, at least he learned some valuable lessons.
Absolutely. This is where he really internalized Warren Buffett's famous rules.
Rule number 1, never lose money. Rule number 2, never forget rule number 1.
That's the one. And he also realized that as his savings grew, the cost of making those mistakes would only get bigger.
Yeah, the stakes get higher.
Exactly. So it was time for a change in approach.
So what did he do?
Well, this is when Tom really became a learning machine. He started devouring information,
From...
financial YouTube channels, podcasts, books, anything he could get his hands on.
To avoid making those same mistakes again.
Exactly. He was determined to become a more informed and disciplined investor.
And that's important, right? Because I think a lot of people, when they have those early losses, they just give up entirely.
Oh, yeah, it's easy to get discouraged. But the key is to learn from those experiences
Right.
and use them as fuel to keep learning and growing.
Okay, so let's look back at this first stage of his journey, the numbers specifically.
All right, so in about 2 years, Tom saved around $20,000. Remember, he was saving around $1,000 a month.
Right.
But he lost about $2,000 from those bad investments and another $1,000 in trading fees from all that buying and selling.
Yeah, those fees can really add up, can't they?
Oh, yeah, especially when you're trading frequently.
Though even with those losses.
His savings rate was still the biggest factor in getting him to $20,000.
Okay, so that's stage one, saving consistently and learning some tough but necessary lessons.
Right.
What happens next? Stage two, $20,000 to $100,000. Sounds like things start to shift a little.
They do. So as Tom starts his third year at General Motors, his parents, super proud of him for saving, offer him a gift.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, $10,000 for a down payment on a house.
Wow, that's generous.
It was. But Tom surprisingly declined.
He turned down free money.
He did. Remember all that reading he was doing?
Yeah.
Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Uh-huh.
Well, that really influenced his thinking.
In what way?
He started to see a house as more of a liability than an asset, at least at that point in his life.
Okay, explain that.
Well, he realized that putting that much money into a house
Yeah.
would tie up a big chunk of his savings.
Money that could be growing faster elsewhere.
Exactly. And it also aligns with what Charlie Munger always says.
What's that?
The first rule of compounding is to never interrupt it unnecessarily.
Ah, okay. So Tom's thinking long term.
Yeah. He knew that delaying gratification, in this case not buying a house yet, would lead to bigger rewards later.
So this is a key takeaway for our listeners, right?
Absolutely. Every financial decision has an opportunity cost.
Meaning...
What you give up by choosing one option over another.
Right. So in this case, buying a house meant giving up the potential for faster growth in the stock market.
Exactly. And, for some people, a house might be the right choice.
Sure, it depends on their circumstances.
But for Tom, at that moment, he saw a bigger opportunity in letting his money compound.
Okay, so he's still not buying a house. He's doubling down on investing. But what's different this time around?
Well, this is where things really start to shift. The returns from the stock market. They become a much bigger driver of his wealth, not just saving.
So his money is starting to work for him.
Yeah. But with that comes new temptations, right?
Yeah. Like what?
Lifestyle creep.
Oh, yeah. You start making more money, you want to spend more money.
Exactly. And for Tom, he could finally afford a decent car.
Maybe even reconsider that house.
Right. But he resisted.
Smart.
Yeah, he knew that letting his lifestyle inflate would slow down his progress towards financial independence.
Right, because even small increases in spending
can make a big difference over time.
So he stayed focused.
He did. And this is also when he really dives deep into understanding companies.
Okay.
So by 27, he's doing more than just picking stocks based on tips. He's looking at their business models, doing some basic financial analysis.
Like trying to figure out what a company is really worth.
Exactly. Not just what the market thinks it's worth.
So he's following Warren Buffett's one-foot bar philosophy.
Right. Sticking to investments he understands.
Not getting caught up in anything too complicated.
Exactly. And this is actually illustrated really well by a conversation he has with a friend.
Oh, tell me about that.
Okay, so his high school classmate, Steven, who, by the way, had a finance degree from a fancy university.
Okay.
He was super excited about this new startup.
What kind of startup?
Well, he called it the Walmart of the metaverse.
The Walmart of the metaverse?
Yeah, the company was called Walmeta.
Okay.
But here's the thing. The company had no earnings.
No earnings.
None. It was all based on hype and future potential.
So very speculative.
Extremely. And Steve was totally ignoring fundamental valuation metrics.
Like the price-to-earnings ratio.
The PE ratio, yeah. Which is a simple way to see if a stock is overvalued or undervalued.
Right.
But Tom, even though this was his friend,
Yeah.
He stuck to his principles.
Good for him.
Yeah. He made a very small investment,
Like how small?
$500.
Yeah.
Almost just to acknowledge his friend's excitement, you know.
Oh, I see. More of a symbolic investment.
Yeah.
So while his friend was chasing the next big thing,
Tom was focusing on solid, profitable companies.
like,
Google, Microsoft, Walmart.
okay, established companies.
Yeah. And he was buying them when their PE ratios were low compared to their peers.
Which basically means they were on sale.
Exactly. Like Charlie Munger says, try not to be stupid.
So simple, but so important. Right.
Absolutely. And this is a good reminder for our listeners, too. Understanding basic financial ratios.
Like the PE ratio.
Yeah, it can really help you make better investment decisions.
Okay, so Tom's learning. He's investing smarter. What else is happening during this time?
Well, he's still going to the library.
Still,
And guess who he runs into again?
Sarah, the red-headed clerk.
You got it. And this time, it's more than just a quick chat.
They hit it off.
They do. And they start dating.
Based on their shared love of books.
And frugality.
Reading and chill, they called it.
That's right.
So not only is Tom making smart financial decisions,
He's also found a partner who shares his values.
which is huge, right? Because having a partner who's on the same page financially,
It can make a big difference.
it can.
And Sarah, well, she was super organized. And when they moved in together, she helped Tom get even better with his finances.
Like budgeting and tracking expenses.
Yeah. And they were also able to save money on rent and other living expenses by sharing costs.
So it was a win-win.
It was.
Uh-huh.
And at the same time, Tom's career at GM is progressing. He gets promoted, gets a raise, and his monthly savings go up to $1,500.
Okay, so his income is increasing. His savings are increasing.
And the stock market is doing its thing, delivering average returns of about 10% per year.
So by 29, he hits $100,000.
He does. And Charlie Munger has this great quote about this stage.
What's he say?
The first $100,000 is a bitch, but you got to do it.
Meaning,
It's hard work to get that initial chunk of capital.
it takes time, it takes discipline.
Exactly. But it's crucial because that's what sets you up for the next stage.
Which
is
is
a really exciting part.
$100,000 to $1 million.
Right. But it's not without its challenges.
Ah.
Because just as Tom's hitting this milestone,
Yeah.
the market throws him a curveball.
All right, let's hear about stage 3. This is where things get really interesting.
So Tom's feeling pretty good. He's hit $100,000. And then, remember his friend Steven?
Yeah, the Walmeta guy.
Well, that company goes public. And it explodes, like a 2,400% return.
2,400%. Are you serious?
Yep. Steven made like $1.25 million almost overnight.
Wow. Okay, that's got to sting a little for Tom.
Oh, for sure. I mean, he would invested in Walmeta too. Remember that small $500 investment?
Right.
Well, that turned into $12,000, which is not bad.
No, not bad at all. But it pales in comparison to what Steven made.
Exactly. And Tom admits in the video that he felt a twinge of regret, like maybe he should have been more aggressive.
Yeah, it's hard not to compare yourself, right? Especially when someone you know hits it big.
It is.
Yeah.
But Tom, wise as always, remembered another one of Warren Buffett's analogies.
How much one is it?
The coin flippers. Just because someone wins a few coin flips in a row.
Doesn't make them a genius.
Exactly. It's all about luck.
So Tom's thinking, maybe Steven just got lucky.
Right. And that he shouldn't expect those kinds of returns to continue.
Yeah.
And, it's a good reminder for all of us. Short-term gains don't always translate to long-term success.
Right.
It's about having a sound strategy, not chasing the next hot stock.
And it's about being patient.
Absolutely.
So while Steve is out there celebrating his newfound wealth, probably buying all sorts of fancy things.
Tom and Sarah are sticking to their frugal lifestyle.
Smart. Because they're about to face a big test.
They are. Right before Tom turns 31,
Yeah.
the S&P 500 crashes, like over 50%.
Oh.
Yeah, it was a huge market downturn.
And what happens to Tom's portfolio?
Well, it gets cut in half, practically overnight.
Oof. Back down to $100,000.
Pretty much.
That's got to be rough.
It was. But Tom, he didn't panic
Because
he was prepared, mentally and financially. He had been learning about market cycles. He knew that downturns were inevitable.
And he had cash on hand to take advantage of the dip.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, he even remembered a saying,
Oh, what was it?
the bear case is the best case
When
the market is down.
Yeah.
That's when the real opportunities appear.
Because prices are lower.
Right. And this is where Benjamin Graham's famous analogy comes in.
Tell me.
He said you should buy stocks like groceries.
Not like Perfume.
Exactly. When groceries are on sale.
Stock up.
Right.
Right.
And when good companies are on sale in the stock market.
You buy more.
Exactly.
So that's what Tom did.
He did. He doubled down on his investments in great companies.
While everyone else was panicking.
Right.
And what happened?
Well, in the 2 years after the crash,
Yeah.
his portfolio had incredible returns.
Like how incredible.
30% one year, 45% the next.
Wow.
Yeah. He turned a market crash into a massive opportunity.
That's the power of having a long-term perspective.
It is. And it's a great example of how discipline and patience can pay off big time.
Okay, so he's bouncing back strong. What happens next?
Well, by 33, something really cool happens. His investment returns start exceeding his salary.
Whoa.
Yeah, even with average market returns over the long term.
His money is making more money than he is at his job.
Exactly. And, this is a really important point for our listeners
Yeah.
because it shows the potential power of investing.
Right.
When done right, it can become a major source of income.
Okay, so he's 33. His investments are killing it. What else happens?
Well, remember Sarah?
His book-loving, frugal girlfriend.
Yep, they're married now.
Congrats to them.
Yeah, and they decide to buy a house.
Finally.
Yeah, they wanted a stable place to raise their daughter.
Makes sense.
So they put down $60,000, split it 50-50.
Okay, so Tom's taking a $30,000 hit to his investment capital.
He is. And, it's a bit of a setback to his compounding.
Yeah.
But they felt it was the right decision for their family.
Yeah, sometimes life decisions take priority over pure financial optimization.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And even Warren Buffett bought a house relatively early in his career.
Okay, so it's not unheard of for even the most dedicated investors to make these kinds of choices.
Exactly.
So he's got a house, he's got a family. What about his career?
Well, at 35, he makes a switch.
From
Right.
Ford?
From General Motors to Ford.
Okay, still in the auto industry.
Yep. But the new job came with a 20% salary bump.
Nice.
Yeah, for basically the same amount of work.
That's a good deal.
It was. And this gave his savings rate another boost.
So now he's really firing on all cylinders.
He is. But, it's his investment portfolio that's really driving his wealth at this point.
Okay.
Some months, his returns would be way higher than his salary.
Wow.
But of course, there were also months when the market would dip.
And he'd see his portfolio value drop.
Right. And this is where, it's easy to get discouraged.
Yeah.
But Tom, he stayed focused on the long game.
Which is key, right? Because the stock market is always going to have its ups and downs.
Exactly. It's about riding out those waves.
And not panicking when things get rough.
Right. And Tom realized something really important.
What's that?
That even a small difference in returns
Yeah.
can make a huge difference over time.
Because of compounding.
Exactly. He was consistently beating the market by a few percentage points.
And over decades, that adds up to a lot of extra money.
It does. He even joked that his hourly wage from researching companies was getting pretty high.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah,
So basically, investing knowledge itself has value.
absolutely. And, towards the end of this phase,
Yeah.
Tom starts to get a little restless.
Restless. How so?
Well, he had this passion for photography, and he decides to start a small wedding photography business.
Downside.
Yeah, just as a side hustle.
To make some extra money.
Partly. But it was also about having more control over his time.
I see.
He was starting to think about life beyond his 9 to 5.
And that brings us to the final stage.
Financial freedom.
He hits his goal, $1 million.
And retires before he turns 4.
14 years ahead of schedule.
That's right.
So tell me, how did he actually get there?
Well, over half of his wealth came from stock market returns.
Wow. So his investments did most of the heavy lifting.
They did. And that's the power of compounding.
Right.
If he had just relied on his salary,
Yeah.
he would have had to work another 14 years to reach his goal.
Think about what you could do with an extra 14 years.
It's mind-blowing.
So what's Tom doing now?
Living the dream.
Tell me more.
Spending time with his family, hiking, photography, investing.
He even became his daughter's tennis coach.
He did. It's like he's finally free to do what he loves.
And that's the ultimate goal, right?
It is. And there's this one final interaction in the video that I think is really interesting.
Oh, what is it?
Tom reaches out to his friend Steven to tell him about his retirement.
Okay. Man.
Well, it turns out Steven lost all his Walmeta gains.
Oh, yeah.
He got caught up in another speculative investment. This time it was something called Starverse.
And he lost everything.
Yep. And had to go back to working a regular job.
Wow. That's a cautionary tale.
It is. It shows the difference between building sustainable wealth
Yeah.
and chasing quick riches.
So what's the big takeaway from Tom's story?
Well, I think it's that financial independence is achievable.
For regular people,
Exactly. You don't need some special talent or secret formula.
it's about consistency,
Right. Saving consistently
investing intelligently.
and staying disciplined.
Tom's story is so inspiring because it's not about hitting some crazy home run.
Yeah.
It's about making small, smart decisions over time.
And those small decisions, they add up.
They do.
The video does mention Warren Buffett making his first million by 31.
Mm,
But that's, Warren Buffett.
he's an outlier.
Yeah, Tom's story is more relatable.
Right.
It gives us a roadmap we can actually follow.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
what are the key things our listeners should remember?
All right. Number 1, start saving early.
Even if it's just a small amount.
Right. The earlier you start, the more time your money has to grow.
Okay, number 2,
Learn from your mistakes.
especially those early investing mistakes.
Yeah, they're going to happen.
There.
But use them as learning opportunities.
Number 3,
Embrace the power of compounding.
let your money work for you.
Right. Invest consistently, even if it's just a little bit each month.
Okay, what else?
Resist lifestyle inflation.
Don't let your spending grow faster than your income.
Exactly. Stay disciplined.
And finally,
Stay the course during market downturns.
don't panic sell.
Right. Remember, the bear case is the best case.
Buy when everyone else is fearful?
And remember, Tom's story is not just about hitting $1 million.
No.
It's about buying back his time.
14 years of his life.
That's the real prize.
So here's a question for our listeners. What would you do with an extra 14 years?
What passions would you pursue?
What experiences would you have?
Take some time to think about that.
And then think about what small steps you can take
Starting today,
to move closer to that goal,
to financial freedom,
to reclaiming your time.
to living a life of intention.
Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive.
Until next time,
Keep learning, keep investing, and keep living your best life.
you got it.